Hello and welcome. You're watching Medically Speaking NewsX. Recently, Union Health Ministry launched a mental health awareness campaign, and in the context of it, we will today be talking about the mental health scenarios going on around and before the pandemic. I have Yogita Pandey, who's a psychotherapist, a TEDx speaker, and co-founder of Rationally Yours and training manager at Morphic Minds. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank
In
you.
all
Thank you so much,
countries,
Vishali.
in all countries, the pandemic has had a major impact on people's mental health. Some groups, including health and other frontline workers, students, people living alone, and those with pre-existing mental health conditions have been particularly affected. At the same time, a WHO survey conducted in mid-2020 clearly showed that the services for mental and neurological and substance abuse use disorders had been significantly disrupted during the pandemic. What are the most common impacts of this pandemic that you have come across, and what are the coping mechanisms you suggest?
All right. So see, Vishali, as you rightly mentioned, that this has taken a toll on various sectors of the society. So right from our frontline workers, students, so those who were working out there in the field, they had different challenges. Those who were not working in the field but working from home, they had different challenges. So I can talk about different like more or less the stress, the danger was the same for everyone, that was COVID. But still, because we are talking about mental health, everyone's mental health was affected by, we can say, of various intensities. They were having different issues. Okay.
Right.
So if we talk about the frontline workers first, because they are the one who were out there, as we say, they were the front line. So they had a practical danger, we would say, a practical problem of getting exposed to the virus, and then transmitting the virus to their family members. So there was a lot of anxiety, pressure of also making other people all right. So that way. And I would say, when we talk about the mental health, people who were working from home, at least they could reach out to us. They had the time that way. But frontline workers, because they were so overworked and overloaded with patients and everything, they, even if they would want to, there was so little time for their self-care, that I would say that population was the most affected one. Okay. So impact wise, I would say that the frontline workers did well. Right now we are at least at somewhat it is in control. I'm talking about the peak of the pandemic, when it was totally out of control. And I have many colleagues, many acquaintances, friends who were there as frontline workers. Even some little time that they would get, they would talk about their insecurities. They were not staying with their family because they were worried that they may risk the virus. So social isolation was the biggest problem, because they were under stress. And usually under stress, we seek out to speak to family members, we share time with them. And the biggest hazard in this entire pandemic was the distance. So I think distance had a huge impact. When we say COVID, there was anxiety, there was depression, and there were very less coping mechanisms available.
Yes.
Talking about the frontline workers that I'm saying. So they, the least that we could do was, those who were not the frontline workers, they could sit with their family, talk to them. That had its own challenges, but at least they had that option. But when we talk about frontline workers, most of them were isolated because they didn't want to, give the virus to the family members. So there was this isolation that was taking a toll on them, plus ridiculous working hours that was there. So yeah, the impact was a lot of depression, anxiety together. It mostly goes hand in hand. So that was there. But luckily the situation is under control as we are speaking now. So a lot of them are seeking help right now, when things have settled down, because of what we call as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. They have seen so much, so many deaths, so many angry relatives they have dealt with. that now a few of the frontline workers that I'm talking to are having sleep issues. They are having the recurrent memories of the peak COVID period, where they were just running around. They also were as scared as the normal public, but they were more accountable. They were supposed to know the answers. So now they are reaching out to us with mostly the PTSD symptoms, where they remember the past incidences and they are having trouble managing those memories. So yes, that's an impact for the frontline workers. Talking about students and the people who were at home, the challenge was the isolation. They were not getting to meet their friends. The cafes were closed. The movie theaters were closed. So there was no point, or no way out for socializing. Now, no matter how much we say the Zoom was there, the WhatsApp videos and everything was there, but it does not replace the physical proximity that we share with our friends. So again, in that case, we have seen a lot of depression, as in they've had no one to share their time with, along with a lot of uncertainties, as in when this will end, how will this impact us ultimately. So depression and anxiety, I would say, was throughout common and is still common. Along with that, what was additional was grief, because many families first-hand experience grief. They lost their loved ones. So grief was something that was very prominent in most part of the world, I would say. So these were the common emotional impacts of COVID. Now, if we talk about, yes, please go ahead, please.
Yes, ma'am. So what are the coping mechanisms that you would suggest through this PTSD and depression and the grief stages that people have come across?
Okay. If I'll try my best to give some, because this is a time limited, conversation that we are having.
Yes.
Because when we say about PTSD, anxiety, grief, all these things takes number of sessions for people to work on themselves. But if I have to explain it to you in the short, the therapy that I practice, it's called as cognitive behavior therapy. Now, the basic premise of this therapy is, even if the situation is the same, people can learn to react differently. Okay, not positively, I would say, because in pandemic we are not going unrealistic that people can be happy or positive at this point. But even in the negative emotions, there is a range of negative emotions a person can feel. Not getting into much details, but just for the viewers understanding, the negative emotions could be healthy negative emotions and unhealthy negative emotions. So when we say healthy negative emotions, it helps us to deal with the situation better. We are quite functional, though in a state of negative emotion, the functionality is not affected as much. The physical distress is not there as compared to unhealthy negative emotions. So if you ask me about the coping mechanism, how can we cope, talking about the PTSD symptoms, when people are continuously thinking about the past, and they somehow it happens, that mostly people who have PTSD, they think that that should not have happened, or how I could have reacted differently. So they can learn how to look at the past differently, accepting the past, even though it was super unfortunate, really bad. But people, even if they don't accept it, it's not going to be any different. But people have a hard time accepting when they get into the past. What if I would have done this? What if this would not have happened? What if people would have listened to whatever the instructions were? So talking about those, they can learn to look at the past differently. Now obviously we cannot go and change the past, but we can surely learn how to process the past differently. Okay, this will remain the gist for all the other emotional problem. That situation
Emotional
is the same.
problems.
Yeah,
Point
the so
taken.
situation.
Point taken, ma'am. You said that people are in need of therapy ones. And mental health conditions, we've seen that they commonly go unnoticed and come forth only when they become really, really severe. Sometimes there's a suicide, sometimes there's, a suicidal ideation, suicidal attempt. Now, how can one really know when they are going through a mental illness and are in need of a professional help?
The biggest hurdle when we say we notice the symptom, as you rightly mentioned, that people talk about mental health only when it goes to the peak, they see the severe impact. But I would say that we can start bringing the change from here, that we do not look at mental health as a part of illness. It can simply be looked at as a part of regular health, as we look after our health even if we are not sick. Okay, so we do not look for any symptoms when you want to exercise or when you want to eat healthy. It's not like you look for any illness symptoms and then you will do these things. So likewise, you cannot, you can, the viewers, they cannot just wait for mental illness to happen. Take mental health as a priority when you are, taking time out for yourself, when you are working on your health by exercising, sleeping well, screen exposure, so less screen exposure. These all are some acts for mental health. Talking about the symptoms, early symptoms that they can catch. When you notice that you are agitated than usual, like more agitated than usual, this is not how you generally react, or when your sleep is getting disturbed. If either you are sleeping too less or too more, too much, if your appetite is disturbed, if you have the constant thoughts of not doing anything or not socializing, if you are avoiding a lot of things, and if you're indulging in a lot of unhealthy things, like you're just in front of your screen all day, if you're just indulging in things that are unhealthy for you, this should be the sign for you to take help, rather than looking at it as, how we say that this person's nature is as such that he or she does not like to mingle. But we are social beings, so if you think that you are acting against your self-care, anything, that should be a sign for you to take help.
Okay, ma'am. So last word from you, ma'am, since we will, we are short of time right now. So last word from you, you just said that we should take a look of, keep a check upon us behavior, regular behavior, right? So ma'am, what do you suggest to the people who are not in a state of, facing the society, when they're hesitant to approach a therapist or seek professional help, when because of the fear of those comments and remarks that they get really from the people, that tum pagal ho, ya something like that? How do they deal with these remarks, and how do they get the motivation to seek a professional help like yourself?
See, luckily, we are in an age where people are talking about it quite a lot, be it on social media or among their friends. Now, people are more open than ever. So, I have been practicing from so many years, but this is the time I'm seeing a lot of conversations openly happening about mental health. So, I would say rather than focusing on how to deal with people who will think you are crazy if you are seeing the therapist, work on your thoughts. You don't think you are crazy if you are seeing a therapist. When you see a general physician, if you have a fever, you don't think that you are crazy. So your brain is a part of your body, and if something is wrong in that, either neurochemically or thought wise, so it's just as a part of your body. And if you see a general physician for fever, you can see a psychiatrist or a psychologist when it is brain related or thought related. It could be, you can just keep it as simple. And with you guys are bringing in so many mental health professional in front, so when people see us, they will know that we are normal human beings. We don't judge. We are not going to bite you. So more of exposure to the therapist, the more they see us around, I think that will break the ice between people who want to seek help and the professionals.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. It was rather a riveting conversation with you and a really positive message from your side on this Mental Health Day special. Thank you for watching. Subscribe our YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, and Koo, and visit our website, medicallyspeaking.in. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Thank you so much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.